Case File 09. The library that should not exist. The mark appeared just before dawn. Clara had fallen asleep at the desk. Not intentionally, just long enough for the lamplight to dim and the silence of the room to settle around her. When she opened her eyes, the sky beyond the window had begun to pale, and the city was shifting into that quiet space between night and morning. For a moment she didn't move. Then she saw the map. Another mark. Clearer than the others. Darker. Final. Elias. Her voice was softer than usual. He was already awake, already standing near the shelves, already watching the map. "I see it," he said. Clara stood slowly. "This is the center." "Yes." She traced the pattern with her eyes. All the previous marks, restaurant, tunnel, castle, clock tower, garden, room, bridge, they all curved inward, toward this. "Where is it?" she asked. Elias overlaid the modern map again, adjusted the alignment, matched the streets, then stopped. "Below," he said. Clara frowned. "Below what?" Elias looked up at her. "Everything." The entrance was not marked, not clearly. It took time to find. And even when they did, it did not look like an entrance at all. A maintenance access point, narrow, unremarkable, tucked between older structures near the river in London. The kind of place no one notices, because it was never meant to be noticed. "This is it?" Clara asked. Elias nodded. They descended without speaking. The tunnels were older here, different from the underground, stone instead of brick, uneven, irregular, as if built in stages across different centuries. Clara felt it immediately, that same pressure, but stronger. "This is closer," she said. "Yes." The air grew colder as they moved deeper, not sharply, gradually, as if the temperature had been set long ago and never adjusted. After several turns, the passage narrowed, then widened again, and then they saw it. A door, not hidden, not sealed, just present. Wood, dark, aged, but unlike the others, this one was slightly open. Clara stopped. "This one isn't closed." "No," Elias said. "Why?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped forward and pushed it open. The room beyond was larger than it should have been. Clara stepped inside slowly, her breath caught. Shelves, endless rows of them, books, journals, stacks of paper bound and unbound, an underground library. The air was still. Dust settled across every surface, not disturbed, not recently. "This has been here a long time," Clara said. "Yes." She moved toward the nearest table. Candles sat in iron holders, long burned out, wax hardened in uneven shapes. She picked up one of the journals, opened it, handwritten, careful, detailed. Her eyes moved across the page, then stopped. "Elias?" He stepped closer. She turned the journal toward him. The entry described a restaurant appearing during a storm. Elias said nothing. Clara grabbed another. A tunnel, hidden. Voices behind a door, another, a castle, and a hall, a moment repeating. She looked at him. "These are our cases." "Yes." "But they're older." He nodded. "Much older." Clara turned more pages, dates, names, records, centuries. "This has been happening for a long time," she said. "Yes." She stepped back slowly. "We're not the first." "No." At the center of the room stood a larger table. Unlike the others, more deliberate. Elias moved toward it. A single journal lay open. He read silently. Clara waited. Then, "What does it say?" Elias didn't look up. "It describes the pattern." Clara stepped closer. "The seal?" "Yes." She leaned in. Symbols. Drawings. Connections between locations. The same pattern as the map. Her voice lowered. "They knew." "Yes." "They were tracking it." "Yes." She pointed to a name written at the top of the page. "Who were they?" Elias read it aloud. "The archivists of the Vale." The words settled into the room. Clara exhaled slowly. "And they built this?" Or maintained it. She looked around again. This isn't just a library. No. What is it? Elias finally closed the journal. A record. Of what? He met her eyes. Of containment. Clara felt it then, clearer than before. Everything they had seen was not random, not separate, not accidental. They weren't documenting events, she said. No, they were monitoring something. Yes, Clara's voice dropped. And it's still here. Elias nodded once. Yes. The air shifted, subtle but unmistakable. Clara turned. Did you feel that? Yes. The room felt different now, not unstable or not collapsing. Aware, Clara looked back at the shelves, at the journals, at the history of something that had never fully stopped. Elias. He didn't answer, because he was already looking at the same thing she was. Another page, at the centre table. A drawing, a circle, the same one from the map. And at its centre, a chamber, marked clearly, deliberately. Clara's voice dropped to a whisper. That's where it is. Elias nodded. Yes, she swallowed. What's inside it? Elias looked at the symbol, then at the room, then at the space around them. And for the first time, he didn't answer immediately. Then, quietly, I don't know. Back at the shop, Clara wrote slower than she ever had. Case file 09, the library that should not exist. She paused for a long time and then wrote, Some knowledge is not hidden to be forgotten. It is hidden to prevent something from being found. Upstairs, the map remained open. The centre mark was no longer faint, it was complete. And now, there was nowhere left to avoid. Case file 10, the chamber beneath the city. The decision was not discussed. It did not need to be. By the time Clara finished writing the final line of the previous case, the map had already made the choice for them. The centre was no longer a suggestion. It was an instruction. They left before the city fully woke. Not because of urgency, but because something about this felt like it belonged to a quieter hour. A space between movement. The route was not direct. Even with the map, the path shifted. Tunnels that should have connected did not. Passages that should have been sealed were open. Others, gone. Clara noticed it first. We've passed this before. Elias didn't slow. No, we have. The structure is adjusting. She frowned. Adjusting to what? He didn't answer. The deeper they moved, the less the space resembled anything built for function. The walls changed again. Stone. Older than before. Rougher, less shaped. The air grew heavier. Not cold. Not warm. Just dense. Clara exhaled slowly. This is different. Yes. They turned one final corner. And stopped. The corridor ended in a circular chamber. The walls curved inward, forming a perfect ring. Every inch of stone marked, carved, layered with symbols that echoed everything they had seen before, but older, more deliberate. At the centre, a door, not wood, not iron, stone, massive, sealed. Clara stepped forward slowly. This is it. Elias nodded. Yes. The symbol carved into the door matched the one from the map, the one from the journal, the one connecting everything. The seal. Clara reached out, then stopped. This one feels different. Elias stepped beside her. It is. Because of what's behind it. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he placed his hand against the stone. And for the first time, he hesitated. Clara noticed. You've never done that before. No. She looked at the door. Do we open it? Elias closed his eyes briefly. Then, yes. It took both of them. The stone resisted. Not locked. Just unwilling. Then, it moved. Slow, heavy, final. The chamber beyond was vast, larger than anything they had entered so far. Not impossibly large, but wrong in its proportions. like the space extended beyond what the ground above could contain. Clara stepped inside and felt it immediately. The shift, not just in air, not just in temperature, in time. The room felt unstable. At the center stood a raised platform, stone, carved, surrounded by markings that formed a perfect circle around it, and above it, suspended, a sphere, dark, smooth, not reflective, absorbing. Clara stopped. What is that? Elias stepped forward slowly. I don't know. The sphere did not move, did not pulse, did not react. But it felt present, more than anything else they had encountered. Clara stepped closer. The air thickened, her thoughts slowed. Not forced, just waited. This is what they sealed? Elias nodded once. Yes. She looked around. All of this. For that? Yes. Clara frowned. It doesn't look dangerous. Elias didn't respond. Instead, he studied the markings around the platform. They weren't containing its form, he said quietly. Then what? He looked up at the sphere. Its effect. The air shifted, not violently, not suddenly, gradually. Clara felt it first in her chest. A pressure, then sound, faint voices, not one, not several, many, all at once. The chamber blurred. Not visually, but perceptually. Clara blinked, and for a moment, she wasn't in the chamber. She was somewhere else, a street, rain, light in the distance, the restaurant, then gone. Another shift, stone walls, a hall, a table at the castle, gone, dark water, voices. The bridge, gone. Clara staggered slightly. Elias. I see it. The sphere remained still, but everything around it was not. The events, Clara said, breath unsteady. They're coming from this. Yes. Not memories. No. Fragments. Yes. The room trembled. The markings on the floor flickered faintly. Clara looked down. They're breaking. The seal. Elias moved quickly now. We shouldn't have opened this. Clara looked at him. It was already opening. He didn't deny it. The voices grew louder. The space shifted faster. Moments overlapping, blending. Clara stepped back. If this breaks... Elias finished it. The city won't just remember. It will relive. The sphere darkened, not visually, but in presence, like something waking. Elias stepped forward once more, then stopped. He understood. This was not something to destroy, not something to remove, only something to contain. We need to leave, he said. Clara didn't argue. They moved quickly, the chamber resisting them now, not physically, but through distortion. The exit seemed farther, the corridor longer, the space shifting against them. Then they crossed the threshold, the door closed behind them, and the world settled. Back at the shop, neither of them spoke for a long time. Clara sat at the desk, the journal open, her hand still. Then she began. Case File 10, the chamber beneath the city. She paused at the end, longer than ever before, then wrote, Some things are not meant to be understood, only contained. Upstairs, Elias stood over the map. The marks had changed, not gone, but quieter, as if something had stabilized, but not permanently, never permanently. Case File 11, the city that remembers. Morning came quietly. No storm, no disturbance, no visible sign that anything beneath London had shifted at all. The city moved as it always did, people crossing streets, doors opening, voices rising and fading into the rhythm of another ordinary day. But Clara felt it. Not in the air, not in the ground, in the absence. She stood at the window longer than usual, watching, waiting. It's quieter, she said. Elias did not look up from the desk. Yes. She turned. That's not a good thing. No. Clara crossed her arms. The restaurant hasn't appeared. No. The bridge, nothing. No. The room, the tower. Elias finally looked up. All quiet. The word didn't feel right. Clara walked back to the desk. The map lay open, unchanged. That doesn't make sense, she said. No. She leaned closer. The pattern stopped. Elias stood. Not stopped. She looked at him. Stabilized. Later that day, they returned to the library. It was still there. The door still open. The shelves still filled. The air still untouched. But something had changed. Clara noticed it immediately. It feels different. Yes. She moved through the rows slowly, running her fingers lightly along the spines of journals that had been written long before her, documenting events she had now lived herself. At the center table, Elias opened the final journal again. Clara leaned beside him. What are you looking for? The part we didn't understand. He turned the pages carefully, slower this time, then stopped. Clara leaned in. The writing was older, more deliberate, more final. She read silently, then aloud. The disturbances are not failures of the seal. They are part of its function. Clara frowned. That doesn't make sense. Elias didn't look away. Read the next line. She did. The pressure cannot be contained entirely. It must be released in fragments. Clara's breath slowed. The events? Yes. The restaurant. The tunnel. The castle. The bridge. They weren't breaking through. Elias finally looked at her. They were being allowed through. Clara stepped back slowly. That's why they repeat. Yes. They're controlled. Yes. She looked around the library. This whole system was built to maintain balance. Clara turned again toward the journal. And the archivists understood that. Silence settled, heavier than before, because now they understood. Back at the shop, Clara stood over the map again. Nothing had changed, and that was the change. She looked at Elias. So opening the chamber did not break it. It reset it, yes. Clara exhaled slowly. So the city, Elias finished it, is maintaining the seal. Clara turned back to the window. The streets below moved, unaware, unchanged, but not untouched. That night she wrote the entry with more certainty than any before. Case File 11, the city that remembers. She didn't hesitate this time. She wrote, the city is not haunted. It is holding something in place. Upstairs, Elias stood beside her, looking out, not at the city as it was, but at what lay beneath it. And for the first time, there was understanding, not fear, not confusion, just balance. One case remained, not to investigate, but to complete. Case File 12, the book that was not written. The shop was quiet when Clara found it. Not unusual. Quiet had become part of the space now, settled into the shelves, the wood, the narrow staircase that led up to the office. It was no longer the uncertain quiet of something waiting to be disturbed. It was complete. She had not intended to go into the archive that morning. There was no reason to. No new case, no new report, no new mark on the map, and yet she felt it. That same pull she had felt at the door in the castle, at the edge of the lake, at the bridge. Not curiosity, recognition. Elias, she called, and he answered from above. Yes? I'm going downstairs. A pause. All right. The hidden door opened as easily as it always had. The narrow stone staircase descending into the archive unchanged. Clara moved slowly this time, not cautious and not afraid, aware. The air below was still. Dust undisturbed, rows of shelves stretching into quiet order. Everything exactly as it had been, except the center table. She stopped. There was something on it. A book, closed. She did not remember seeing it before. Clara stepped closer. It was not old, not in the same way as the others. The leather was worn, but not ancient, used. Her hand hovered over it. Then she opened it. The first page was blank. The second, not blank. Clara's breath caught. The handwriting was familiar, too familiar. She turned the page. More writing, neat, careful, recognizable, her own. She flipped further. Pages filled, case titles, descriptions, observations. The restaurant, the tunnel, the castle, the clock tower. The garden, the map, the room, the bridge, the library, the chamber, the city. Every case. Already written. Clara stepped back. No. Her voice barely formed. Footsteps sounded behind her. Elias! He stopped when he saw her. Then saw the book. What is it? Clara turned it toward him. He didn't move immediately. Then he stepped forward, looked down, and understood. It's not possible, Clara said. Elias didn't answer. Because the evidence was in front of them. Written, complete, except the last pages. Clara flipped to the end, the final entry. Incomplete. Blank space waiting. Her hand trembled slightly. It ends here. Elias's voice was quiet. All begins here. Clara looked at him. This is a record. Yes, but I didn't write this. No. She looked back at the pages. But I will. The realization settled slowly. Not shock, not fear, understanding. This isn't just documentation, she said. No, it's part of it. Yes. Clara turned to the final page, the blank space, waiting. The pen rested beside the book. She didn't remember placing it there. She picked it up, paused, looked at Elias. Does this change anything? He shook his head slightly. No. Why not? Because we were always going to write it. Clara let out a slow breath. Then she wrote, carefully, deliberately. Some stories are not discovered. She paused, then finished it. They are remembered before they are written. She set the pen down. The air shifted. Not violently, not dramatically. Just enough, like something settling into place. Clara closed the book. This time, it felt complete. Upstairs, the city moved as it always had. Unaware, unchanged. But beneath it, held, contained, balanced. Elias stood at the window. Clara joined him. Neither spoke for a long moment. Then, it's still there, she said. Yes, it always will be. Yes. Clara looked out over London. The lights, the streets, the movement of a city that had learned how to carry its own weight. It's not haunted, she said. Elias nodded. No. She watched the skyline, then finished it. It's remembering. And beneath the city, something remained, not waiting, not sleeping, contained. Copyright 2026, Kailan Pitre. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including recording or other electronic or mechanical methods, without the prior written permission of the publisher, except in the case of brief quotations used in reviews or articles. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or used fictitiously. First published in 2026, Echoes Beneath the Fog trademark, and all related materials are the intellectual property of Bloodline Roots Publishing trademark. Contact bloodlineroots@gmail.com. https://aruniversity.card.co.
you.